So because we're just doing HTML and CSS, we can go ahead and look at this code just in our own browser. So I'm going to look at this from assignment 3, and I'm going to go into Cape Town, and I'm going to open it and I'm going to open it in Chrome. So I'm going to have to pull up my Chrome window. And when I pull up my Chrome window, this is what it looks like. You can tell that I'm looking at it not from the web, but from just my own browser, because it says that the file is in D, which indeed it is. So here, let's make this a little bit smaller so we can look at them side by side. I'm going to put that on this side, and I'm going to put this code over here. So this was from assignment 3, and it's very generic, and this is what the code looks like. So we just have our opening tags, we have some metadata, and we have a list. And when we look at this list, we can see that this is an unordered list. It's just a bullet. And that's what that UL is, unordered list. A lot of times you'll see that people will indent to make it a little bit easier to read as they're looking through things. But then when they upload it, because those tabs take space, they usually take them out. Okay, so let's go back and look at this. So this is the code to look at it. Let me make it a little bit shorter so I can put it side by side. As we're kind of learning how to look at code in browsers and how to look at code in editors. Here we have what it looks like in an editor. This happens to be Notepad++. People with Macintoshes can use something like Sublime Text, or even people with PCs can use Sublime Text. But I think it just looks a little bit better on videos if I'm using Notepad++. So that's what this first one looks like. I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the second one. So when I go into my Cape Town number 1, what I'm doing is, for assignment 5, they want you to put some CSS internally inside the HTML. And then the second part of that is to take that CSS and make it an external file. In order to really see anything, you really need to have some text in here. So here's number 2. So I'm going to go to my second example, -2. And what I've done is I've put some lorem ipsum in. And lorem ipsum is a way of just putting text in without it saying anything. So if you want more information about lorem ipsum, you go out to loremipsum.com. So I put some lorem ipsum in there so that we can kind of look and see what we can do with this paragraph. And here I put in a programmer comment. So this is a comment. We have the greater than exclamation point -- space. And then whatever you put in there is not going to be rendered by the web page. That's a programmer's comment, and we can put those in to kind of define what we're doing here. So here it tells you that you've added some lorem ipsum. Down in this section, starting with line 20, we have more comments that says, in this series of links, you have an open tag, but no ending tag. And so the student who did this created an opening tag, but never closed it. Now, it doesn't render incorrectly. And that's one of the things about browsers, is that they try so hard to make all the code work that as you're building on your code, sometimes these little mistakes which you didn't gather initially will kind of come and bite you a little bit later on. So, and that's what I said, this will cause problems as you get more involved with your code. So a lot of times you might think, geez, it didn't break before. Why is it breaking now? Well, it might have broken, but we just never noticed it. You didn't see that this ahref didn't have a closing ahref. So when we look at it here, we see that it doesn't have it. But when we look here at the way it's rendered in a browser, and we go and we just say, you know, let's just view source, view the page source. When we view the page source, we don't see that either. So this page hasn't put it in. So now I'm going to look at the third example because I'm adding to them a little bit more. I'm going to look at this Cape Town-2. So in Cape Town-2, when I look at my comments in this one, I've added a little bit of style. And all I've added was, do I want a pink background or do I want a gray background? And the nice part is that I can put in comments to comment out this gray background. Suppose I didn't want it to be gray anymore. I could just put in my bracket, exclamation point, dash, dash, and then kind of comment this out. And by putting a dash, dash greater than in, and then I can save it. And when I go to render it with 2, now when I refresh it, did I save it? Okay, now I've got the style pink. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to refresh it. Must not be in the right directory I'm saving it. So let's do File, Save As. A lot of times this is Module 3. And if I look at this link, this is Module 3, HTML2. And this one is Module 3. Okay, so let's just save it then. And so when because it's pink. Okay, and now if I refresh it, it's not turning pink. So let's right click, view page source. And when I look at page source, I see that it does say that the style body, so this is not, for whatever reason, it's not refreshing it. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes you're making changes and it doesn't refresh it. And you can press enter, you can hit the refresh button. Sometimes you have to press Control F5. And even though I'm looking at the view page source and I'm looking at it that this style is pink and that body has been grayed out, it's not refreshing. So let's just take it out of the style. Maybe it doesn't like being a comment in the style. And I want to save this. Then I want to come over and I want to refresh this. Okay, so that comment wasn't really commenting out the gray. I had to get that comment out of the style, because once your comment is inside a style, this comment code does not work. And you think, why? Well, if you go to W3 Schools and you want, make this a little bit bigger so we can see it, and we want to search on something, I want the CSS comment code. CSS comments. And so this is the proper thing if you're inside a comment. So let's put this back in. Let's put this back in here. And now instead of using the HTML comments, I could do a /*. And then instead of this closing comment tag, I can put an */. Okay, and I'm going to save that. And now when I go into, look at this, and it's still pink because I've commented out. And when I view my page source for this, I can see that this comment, even though it didn't really gray it out the way I would have expected it to, it doesn't show up as that. It doesn't override as a gray color. Okay, so that's just some ways that we can comment things in and out as we're testing them. All right, so now we have put in our style sheet, and this is an inline style sheet. So we've done that portion of the exercise in assignment 5. If we really want to make sure that things kind of work well, we're going to have to think about putting some end tags in here, but I'm going to show you that in the next example. So now I'm going to go to the code for Cape Town-3. So in Cape Town-3, and let's look at this. Here, let me move it a little bit this way. Here I have my programmer comments that basically say that I'm going to put a link to an external style sheet. So I like to put it up in the header so it affects the entire thing. And then down in my body, I'm telling us, basically saying, you know, we're doing this by baby steps. We're doing some things in the first version, some things in -1, some things in -2, and now we're in -3. And we're taking this style and we're commenting it all out. We're commenting it from the beginning to the end, so that the style is no longer an internal style, but we are pulling it from an external style sheet.css. And if we look at the code for that external style sheet, we're going to see that the background color is gray, but we could make it orange. You know, if we wanted to, we could make it orange. And that we're going to put a border around the H1s and H2s. And here's our yellow border around an H1 and a border around an H2. And then at some point the student had done a P dot blue. And that's really pseudo classes, and that's a little bit more advanced. So we're just going to make sure that we're just doing anything that's in a paragraph is going to be blue, and anything that is a list is going to be green. It's going to have green on it. So when we look at what that does with the code, it's really hard to tell, but right in here, these dots are green. These dots are now green. And you'll be able to see that once that background becomes orange. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to refresh it. And now this background is orange, and now you can see that these unordered list bullets are green. And that's what's making this, which says list color green. So in order for this to work, you want to make sure that you have an external style sheet, that you're calling that external style sheet from the header, although you don't have to. You can do it from the body, but I like to have all my style sheets up in the header if I can. That we don't have any style sheets. I mean, you can override it. If you have a style sheet, an external style sheet, and you want to override something, you can override it in the body. But you know, maybe something had to be a green color or something else. But I have commented out this style sheet here. And I put in some lorem ipsum because we had where the paragraph would be blue. And in the first example, we just didn't have a paragraph. I mean, it was really hard to see. I mean, you did have this was inside a paragraph tag inside the H1. But it was just kind of hard to see. It's nice to have some paragraphs, some lorem ipsum in there to see those colors. So that is how you would do assignment 5 for both an inline CSS and an external separate CSS file. Students know if you have any questions, just to give me a call and we can go through this together. Thank you.